Okay. I'm going to move ahead into explaining the audit parameters. So we've actually spent quite a lot of time to come up with what parameters can be influenced, how they can be linked to different solutions. And we have arrived with basically parameters under 5 different categories. This is for footpaths. We also have junctions that we are doing, which is also a very critical aspect of being able to walk comfortably and safely. So the first parameter is, of course, encroachment. Everybody is aware of that. There's encroachment by parking, planters, vendor shops, construction sites. What is here on the column, on the rightmost column, is the geometry. Geometry is basically to say if it's a line or a point. There are 2 types of data sets, is either if it's a line or it's a point data. Why this is important is this is a choice that you will have to make when you put in the data, whether you want to draw a line for that data or a point, and based on that, you can select what is the issue. So this is something you learn even in the app. Once the app is, you get the training on the app. The next one is obstructions. For this, we have junction boxes, low-hanging wires, overgrown weeds, transformers. I'll show you some of these images as well. We have waste, which includes from all types of garbage, yellow spots, which is basically places where people are peeing, which is unpleasant smell largely, and silt accumulation. Footpath quality, we have broken footpath level difference, which is both high footpath as well as ups and downs, especially at entrances of properties. No footpath is another situation, of course, that we see. And then there's unsafe zones. Unsafe zones are basically dark zones, no street light, or street light not working. So these are the images, basically. So encroachments, you'll see this image where the car is parked on the footpath, where homes have sometimes they take over the footpath for their plantation. Vendors, of course, commercial establishments just spread on the road. Construction sites, very common. You'll find that they've just taken over the footpath for either the guards cabin or even the construction work, the material, etc. In obstructions, of course, junction boxes. Sometimes we also find that a lot of these are defunct and they're not in that space. We have low-hanging wires, again, very common phenomena. We have transformers which literally occupy end to end of the footpath. Both in the case of junction boxes, transformers, you will have to keep a lookout for whether it is obstructing the larger footpath, or if it is in the side, and if it's not an obstruction, then it's fine to sort of leave it. But if it is an obstruction and it doesn't even allow 2 people to walk together, whether it's opposite direction or in the same direction, it is definitely a problem. Then you have overgrown weeds, which is largely a maintenance problem, where you have that in places which are fairly unkempt, where they're not cleaning out and de-weeding the area. In terms of waste, we have construction debris. So construction debris, you'll realize when you have ceramic stuff, you'll have construction material. That's what you will locate and mark as construction debris. Garbage vulnerable points are basically what we traditionally have called black spots in our city. These are points where you will find a lot of garbage bags that will be there. The reason for this is because someone's not collecting their waste, so they're coming and literally throwing out their waste in garbage bags outside. You'll find this heavily in commercial areas and residential areas that are not catered to during the collection system. Litter on street is slightly different. Litter on street is basically where you'll find these odd cups, these chai shops, you'll find bottles thrown. So basically scattered litter, not really in massive garbage bags. We mark that as litter on street. Silt accumulation and drains. This you will see, of course, in drains that are open drains. They usually create a problem because they'll also have garbage and they'll have all sorts of issues and challenges, and largely lead to flooding extensively in a lot of areas in our city, again, making it difficult to walk. Silt accumulation on roads is the silt on the side. The reason we are capturing this is because of the aspect of pollution and dust pollution as you walk along the segment. Yellow spots, of course, figure explains it all. I'm sure all of us are able to identify those with the stench that we will experience as we walk around. In footpath quality, we have broken footpaths. So this is pavers that are suddenly broken in between. It's just caved in certain places. There are holes in the footpath randomly. So all of this will come under broken footpath. No footpath is, you'll see evidently like this image also, there's no footpath for a duration, but there may be footpath ahead. So there'll be segments where there's no footpath. Level difference, of course, is where the property is, in and out, up and down. Basically, there is no consistent. Everyone has to keep getting up and down to walk on the footpath, and hence people just prefer to walk on the road. So that would fall under level difference, and so would something that's a very high footpath. In some of the wards that we've been going to, we are finding footpaths that are as high as 1 meter, which is completely ridiculous in terms of access. So dark zone, streetlight not working. This is something that may not be captured right now during the day audit, but it is something we will rely on the community to populate and input. Next is the junctions. So junctions are very simple things. So we are looking at junctions not from traffic. We are looking at junctions completely from the perspective of a pedestrian who's going to be cutting across to get to the other point. So two main things that are affecting this is the crossing and safety and vehicle behavior. So in crossing and safety, we want to understand if there is a pedestrian crossing. Are there any street lights around there? Is there any difficulty in crossing? Now, is there any difficulty in crossing can be gauged either by you trying to cross the junction or you observing someone crossing that junction. The reason we look at that is there could be multiple reasons it's difficulty in crossing. One is, of course, there is actually no signal, so traffic is just moving. That's one. And even if there is a signal, a lot of times it's not working. So the pedestrian signal is just not working. So that's another reason. You may find in certain places that there are these, completely blind spots that make it very difficult to cross. There are no refuge islands. So all of that would come under difficulty in crossing, and we leave this to your perception of it. But indicatively, what we have noticed is these tend to be very large junctions on roads that are massive and very large, where you firstly need a pedestrian signal and you need that dedicated time for somebody to be able to cross the road, right? The next thing is vehicle behavior. Here we have two aspects. One is, are there speeding vehicles? So are people coming down very fast, where it's very difficult for somebody to gauge the speed and you have to run across? Or are vehicles entering the wrong way? So these are the sort of the key things we look at. When we audit a junction, and I'm sure Naveen and Nitya, who are here from my team, and they'll take you to the application, we will actually have to do every road segment that joins to become the junction or the intersection, right? So if there are 3 roads, we'll audit all the 3 roads along that, and this will be explained in the training. These are just some images, of course, in terms of no pedestrian crossing. There is a break in this main road, but still there's no pedestrian crossing that's there. There's difficulty in crossing because these are massively wide junctions. Traffic is coming from all different directions, so extremely challenging to cross. Vehicles entering the wrong side. I know we have a lot of roads in Bangalore that face this challenge because of our one-ways also. This is the last piece, and we are all going to be there to guide you all to understand and make sure all of this is done. So at the meeting point, we will be there to help you guys. So this is just basically to understand your sense of what could happen. For instance, is tree shade required and is it feasible? Why we're asking is feasible is there space to add more trees to that segment? That would be good to understand from your perception. The second is, are seating benches required? So largely this is also an assessment based on if there is space. And if you think that it's a commercial stretch where people do want spaces to just rest for a bit, or if it's closer to certain key locations that you think are public spaces where you think some spots of rest are required. So that is one. Is it a twin bin or kiosk required? A twin bin largely is in places where there is high commercial activity. So because people are dumping on the road, basically there could be a bin that is given, but this bin is a large bin, which is an underground bin. So this is possible in case of low income areas where there is no access for collection, or commercial areas where the timing is not matching in terms of collections. Those could be possibilities. Is there ramp access? Majority of our roads don't have ramp access, so it would largely be no. But if there is that one odd road that we find with ramp access, then that would be the no when it's not required. Tactile paving is basically the line and dot paving, which is for the visually impaired. This also does not exist in majority of our roads. So it will most largely be, your answer will be yes, it's required. Is parking feasible? Now, this is also a call to take, because if you do think there is enough space on the road for, the two-way or traffic moving and parking and footpath, then we would say that yes, parking is feasible, but we would not select parking over walking. So that would not be the case. So we'll have to sort of assess